Hello, campers. Hello, everyone who's been watching this week. I hope you've had a wonderful couple days of enjoying camp. And tonight I'm closing everything out. I'm honored and humbled for the story that I'm about to share with you. There's a lot of different places at camp. And if you can't tell, I'm at camp right now. That people connect to that they say is their favorite. They'll say Serenity. They'll say the Great Hall. They'll have all these locations where they want to invest so much of their self into and so much time. Mine? It's right here. It's a room in the lodge. There's a bed here still, sort of. It's being taken out. But it's not the room itself that has so much significance to me. It has a lot to do with my beginnings. When I started my faith, I was being built for the day that I would end up coming to this very room. It wasn't the one I slept in. It was a man named Leonard. For those of you who know Leonard, you know the kind of man I'm talking about. He was a humble man, yet a passionate man. And when I was prepping for my time to be here, I ended up being here for 4 weeks. I started as staff in the kitchen. God was laying the foundations for what was going to be the 2 weeks of this session for me. It's kind of crazy to think that this room had so much impact because of Leonard. For the first 2 weeks I had ever spent at camp, I did anything routinely. I was doing dishes every single day, and I would go to Devos, but every night, I don't know how it started, and I don't even know why it started, but I know it was the most significant part of my experience. This was the room that Leonard slept in. I don't know how I ended up in here sitting next to him on this very bed after Devos were over. But for 2 hours, maybe even sometimes 3, all I would hear him talk about as I sat there and listened was a man who had nothing but an interest and a passion and a devotion to sharing Jesus Christ to me. Every night, Devos were over, everyone was getting ready to go back to their cabins, to their rooms. I was here, listening to a man talk about how much Jesus Christ had changed his life. And he didn't just do that here. This was the location that I got to see it. He would share it with anybody, anywhere, at any given time. Because he understood something. He knew something that I wish I would have known earlier, even though it was preached to me here. He was a humble reflection of what the verse we are discussing tonight, the commandment of Jesus Christ giving to us, that we are to love one another as he had loved us. And when you sit there and think about it, what the first thought that I hope comes to your mind is that Jesus was willing to die for you. And there's so many moments where we talk about that, and I don't know if we truly grasp what we're saying. If you were to ask a veteran of who they respect the most, will it be a general? Will it be this? Will it be that? No. It'll be the one next to him. And if they're a veteran who survived a war, that applies to this situation. Because the one that they would tell you that they respect and appreciate and love the most was the one that was willing to take the bullet for them so that they can live. So when we think about Jesus Christ and we think about what he's done and how much he loves us, well, one thing you have to understand, and if you don't know Jesus Christ, I hope you take this to heart, is that through anything, thick and thin, So many different days. And even looking at the different commands that we've talked about this week, the one that I have struggled with is loving one another as I love myself. I'm going to be honest with you. There are so many days that I think I'm garbage. There's so many days that I've looked at a wall, even these walls, and said, you provide more structure and strength than I do. A wall. I've said horrible things about myself, but when I think about the commandment that Jesus is putting in front of us, and he says, love one another as I have loved you, he is telling you that no matter how much it takes, how hard it is, how much it hurts, he's going to dig through everything he can and tell you that he loves you by dying for you. He's telling you that you are worth dying for. And that's exactly the lesson I got here. In this place, in this very room. He didn't tell those stories every night. But if you knew Leonard, he was going to spend every waking breath he possibly could. Every moment, regardless of how tired he was. And there were nights he was tired. It would end up midnight, 1 o'clock. But he would never stop. Ever. Because he wanted me to know of Jesus. And that is a perfect reflection of what it means to love one another as Christ has loved you. And to conclude this, I will say, if you can accomplish this, and it's not an easy task, trust me, and it's one that the more I understand, the more I can do the other commandments. Because when I truly choose to bend over as hard as I can to do whatever I can for anyone I meet, for anyone who comes to camp, for anyone who walks into church, to share the love of Jesus Christ, you accomplish the other commandments. You love the Lord your God with all your heart, body, and strength when you do this. And for me personally, when you share the love of Christ to everyone you meet as much as you can, I accomplish loving one another as I love myself. Why? Because anything good in me has been made good in me by Jesus Christ. I thank you all for being a part of camp this week. And if I would have never been here, half of you wouldn't know who I am. So it was the ultimate place that I decided I wanted Christ in my life. And I'm happy I did. Because now I have the opportunity to share that love with you. And I hope you find a way to share that love with all those you know. Praise and thank you for being a part of my life and for allowing God to open your hearts and minds to what he wants you to see and to understand that there is nothing he will not do to love you.